All right, today we're jumping headfirst into an archaeological investigation. We're looking at one of the most baffling geological mysteries on the entire planet, a massive stone formation that honestly seems to defy any kind of natural explanation. So let's get right into it. And this is the heart of the whole mystery right here. A colossal rock just cleaved in two with what looks like surgical precision. I mean, the gap is so clean, so impossibly straight, it just forces you to ask the one question that has stumped people for years. How on earth did this happen? So, our investigation takes us out to the Tayma Oasis, deep in the Saudi Arabian desert. You could call this our scene of the crime, the AlNaslaa rock formation. And what you find there are these two massive sandstone boulders. And get this, each one is balanced on his own tiny pedestal, separated by this perfect, uniform gap. It's just wild. Now, what makes this whole thing even more incredible is its age. We're talking about a formation that has stood just like this for an estimated 4,000 years. Just think about that. For 4 millennia, this perfectly split rock has been silently guarding its secret right in the middle of the desert. And that, right there, is the central enigma. The cut isn't jagged or rough, like you'd expect from a natural break. Nope, it's a sheer, almost laser-like split. So even after all this time, how this thing came to be is still a subject of some pretty intense debate, both in science and, well, everywhere else. So where do we even begin with this? When you're looking at an anomaly this strange, you kind of have to consider all the possibilities. So let's start with the most extraordinary ones. Could the explanation for this perfect cut be something beyond our current understanding of history, or maybe even our planet? Well, two popular ideas jump to the front of the line almost immediately. The first one suggests that some kind of advanced ancient civilization, with technology we've since lost, must have carved the stone on purpose. And the second theory, well, it points its finger straight up at the sky. This really tells you just how perplexing that cut is. Some people are so convinced it had to be artificial that they think it was done by the very same otherworldly architects that get the credit for building the pyramids. It's a pretty compelling thought, isn't it? But hey, any solid investigation means we have to look at the hard evidence. So let's put those extraordinary theories on the shelf for just a minute and see what geology has to say about all this. We're going to shift our focus now to the leading scientific explanation. Okay, so the most widely accepted scientific theory is, well, it's less dramatic for sure, but it's no less fascinating. It suggests that this is simply a natural fracture. The idea goes that the ground underneath one of those little pedestals shifted, just slightly, causing the rock to crack under its own massive weight. So this theory basically says the split happened along a natural weak point in the sandstone, what geologists call a joint. And these are actually really common, totally natural fractures in rock. Then, over thousands of years, you have forces like windblown sand and the constant freezing and thawing of water that would have smoothed down the fractured surfaces, creating this illusion of a perfect man-made cut. It's kind of like a masterpiece sculpted by geology and time itself. So we're left with two very different explanations. On one side, you've got advanced technology, maybe even from another world. And on the other, you have the slow, relentless forces of nature. Let's put them side by side and really weigh the evidence. Okay, let's break it down. The alien or ancient tech theory, it gives a really neat answer for that incredible precision. But it has zero direct physical evidence. No tool marks, no artifacts, nothing. The natural process theory, though, it relies completely on geological forces we already know exist. It doesn't require any big, fantastic assumptions, and that's exactly why it's the most widely accepted scientific explanation. And that brings us to this really fundamental principle in science. You might have heard of it. It's often called Occam's razor. The idea is that the simplest explanation that fits all the facts is probably the right one. And in this case, the slow, methodical process of geological settling and erosion is, to a scientist, the most straightforward answer. But you have to ask, right? Does simplest always mean correct? The scientific consensus definitely points to nature, but that sheer perfection of AlNaslaa, it continues to inspire wonder and, a little bit of doubt. It leaves us with one last question. Are we looking at the most likely answer, or are we just looking at the easiest one to believe? For a lot of people, this case is still very much wide open.